And I was probably in like hour 3 when I got the text. And I was like, oh my God. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, it was so aligned. I was like, yes, this is it. This is going to kickstart us into the rest of our lives. This is the moment.
Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. What would you do if one text message completely changed the course of your career? Well, that's exactly what happened to my guests today, Taressa and Clarae, best friends turned business partners. They went from interning with me at weddings in the summer of 2023 to becoming the proud owners of my former rental company, which they named Birdie June Events and Rentals, jumping headfirst into entrepreneurship almost overnight. In this episode, we dive into what it's like to run a business with your best friend, the highs and lows of their first year as business owners, and how they've navigated everything from learning on the fly to defining their roles and balancing friendship with work. We also talk about the unexpected skills from their backgrounds that helped them thrive, the lessons they've learned the hard way, and what's next for their growing company. If you've ever wondered what it takes to go all in on a dream, even when it's a little scary, this is an episode you don't want to miss. Clarae, Taressa, welcome to the show.
Hi. Happy to be here.
I am so excited to talk with you guys. I think that we just have a really interesting and unique backstory. And so I'm excited to share it with everybody. And also you guys just are interesting because you are best friends who own a business together. And I think that that is really fun. And a lot of people might wonder, what is that like? What's it like to work with your best friend? And so we're going to get into all of it. We're going to talk about the dynamics of that. We're going to talk about how you guys got into the wedding industry, which will be really fun to get into, and a lot of other things. So to start, I would love it if you guys, in your own words, could just share a bit about your background in weddings and how you got started. And because I could tell everyone because I know very well, but I want to hear it from you guys. So let's hear it.
Do you want me to start? Because I kind of started and then I lumped you into it, technically. So I met Becky at a styled shoot that I was recruited to model for. What would that have been? Like January of 2023?
Yeah.
So I guess 2 years ago, a little over. And I had kind of wanted to always do rental stuff. I loved thrifting and collecting eclectic china. And so I was it was very cool to meet Becky, who had the rental company at the time, and all these other amazing vendors who are some of our favorites and preferred vendors to this day. And so from there, I followed everybody on Instagram, whatever. And then a couple months later, Becky posted about doing an internship for the summer. And I was in a very weird place in my life. And I was
we were both at a transitional point where we were open to trying something new.
I was between jobs, kind of rerouting my whole life. I quit the retail job that I thought was gonna save my life and be my forever job. And then I had just kind of been jumping between jobs from that point on. And so I was kind of why not? Let's try something new. And I don't remember why, but I was hey, Taressa, there's a spot open. Hey, Becky, do you want my friend?
Oh, I remember why. My daughter was born and was probably 6 or 8 months old. And I think that Clarae could tell that I needed to get out of the house, even if it meant doing wedding labor in the summer. And I think that especially we had spent so much time in the house with a new baby that I think that we just thought it would be fun for our friendship to get out of the house more. And that sounds so simple and sad almost. Just
I think, I was having a bit of a quarter life crisis of
yes.
And I feel I left this old version of myself behind, kind of coming out of the pandemic, just what am I doing with my life? Why not try it all? Maybe I want to model. Maybe I want to do events. Who knows? But then it was because we did a couple weddings for you independently. And then it was the last wedding that we interned for, both of us. It was together. And I think we kind of had that moment where we were looking at each other being like, I think we could do this.
Yeah.
Like, should we do this?
And I think especially like if you're going to go out on your own and do something you've never done before, by the time we worked together at that Florence wedding with you, we had already done 10 events separately between the two of us. And so it was interesting to figure out like how we worked under you and your assistants, and then what it was like to work together after working apart for so long. But I think as well, Clarae and I have theater backgrounds, and I think that the toughest part, especially being in Eugene, is like, are you going to move to LA, Chicago, New York? Are you going or trying to do Portland even? And I think that there is a thrill of working for 6 weeks or however long it takes your company to put on a play, and then you perform it, and then you tear it all down and you try it again. And I think that the reason this didn't feel as random as it might sound based on the rest of our intro is that it's hard to sustain life in community theater. And in order to find that thrill, like, it's a very narrow path. And I thought I found that thrill in teaching elementary school, where you work really, really hard with a group of kids for 9 months or a year. And then you get to start all over, and you've learned new things, and you get to be a better teacher for your next group and your next group. But, you know, there's something about motherhood that really flips all the plans you thought you had.
And I mean, it really is like, it's so similar to theater in a lot of ways that I didn't even realize that until we were like actually hands-on doing it.
Yes.
All of the backstage hubbub and the like kind of drama of like, we have to get this together, we have to do it. Oh my gosh, it'll never come together. And then it does.
Is the bride in her costume?
No, seriously. Places everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, it gives me at least that same fulfillment and that thrill. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that people are so touched by the fact that we're a duo, because I feel like for me, I never would have had the confidence or drive. I think I would have gotten, I'm more impressed by people who do it solo almost, because I'm like, well, I simply wouldn't be here if I didn't have a partner.
Well, and I think similar to teaching is that like I may have had my own classroom, but a shout out to my 3rd grade team. I was in their doorway before school, during lunch, and after school, because even though I was teaching the kids on my own, like, I'm nothing without my team. In order to share those ideas back and forth, and like always wanting to be the best version of yourself for the kids, like, there's only so much I can do on my own without the collaboration. So it was long-winded of who we are.
No, that was amazing. I think it's just so interesting. And I think that a lot of people in the wedding industry actually do have theater backgrounds, which I have found. And it makes complete sense because, like you said, just the whole production of it. So it makes sense to me that you would kind of find that same familiarity in running a wedding day. So I love that. And okay, so you talked about the internship that you had done with me. And then fast forward, I knew that you were wanting to get into rentals and all of that. So when I was in the process of selling my rental company, I had started by reaching out to like kind of the bigger local rental companies, thinking that they would be able to just kind of take in my inventory and that would be a really good option. And then when that wasn't panning out, I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was starting to get stressed out. So one day I just texted you, Clarae, and I was like, hey, would you have any interest in buying my rental company? So can you tell me like what was going through your mind when you got that text message?
Okay. I feel like this has to be a little long-winded because I have to set the stage. Because I can tell you exactly what's going through my mind. So it was during the ice storm. I remember that. So rewind like 6 months. I have essentially been unemployed. I think it was month 6 of unemployment. Truly, like I said when we were doing the internship, I don't know what I was doing with my life. It only got a little crazier in the fall. And without going into too much detail, my fiance and I were kind of displaced and we're staying with his friend, his old boss, and we had just moved back into my house. And then the ice storm hit and we had no power. And then we went back to his friend's house. So I was like, I am unemployed still. I am displaced again. I don't know what I'm doing. I guess like back to the job hunt, and I'm going to go back to retail with my tail between my legs while we like very slowly work on this wedding planning thing we're doing.
Well, and
Right?
that was the hard part, was that with the way we were trying to find work, we had this big idea. We wanted to do weddings. We had done your internship. We were building a rental inventory like piece by piece, and Clarae's been a lifelong curator. And like, obviously we both knew like we can't just not have day jobs. And I was watching my baby at the time, like full time during the day. And so all of the work we were doing was at night. So this is kind of where the deep end.
Yeah. When it was just kind of like truly I was at like rock bottom sounds dramatic, but like I was at a new, like a clean slate starting place. And even though I was kind of homeless, I had no job, I was getting my nails done. I was getting acrylics from a new girl I'd never seen before. It was a long appointment. I was there for like 5 hours. And I was probably in like hour 3 when I got the text. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I've been like, this is what I've been waiting for. Like, it was so like aligned. I was like, yes, this is it. This is going to kickstart us into the rest of our lives. This is the moment. But also, I don't know this woman doing my nails. And so I'm just like, oh my God. And, like, everything okay? And I was like, yeah, there's just this thing that's happening. It's good, I think. I don't know. And also I only have one hand because one's in the light. And I'm like trying to text everyone I know, being like, you'll never believe what just happened. And then Becky texted me 2 seconds later being like, this is on the DL. Don't tell anyone. And I was like, got it. So Mom, pretend like I didn't say that.
Well, and I think that was the other reason why it felt like everything had really changed with one text, is Clarae and I are the types of people. And unfortunately, we treat inquiries this way as well. Someone sends us an inquiry or you sent us a text and we're like, actually, this has already happened in our minds. This is not a question. This is actually an answer. And it's in the calendar. And we'll also like do anything to make it happen. And then trying to figure out then how to get other people on board with the fantasy we've already created without them in our minds.
So yeah, it was pretty surreal, but also just very like, I don't know, because when you and I had briefly talked about rental stuff that summer during the internship, I remember having that same feeling of like, yes, like that would just be so wonderful and so perfect. And obviously I had no details. I didn't even know like what that even entailed. But I had this like, I'm not going to call it psychic, but like feeling of just like, and that is how it should all play out. I get it. And so like getting the text, I was kind of like, yeah, this is the right trajectory.
Well, that's so cool to hear. I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know the nail story. So it's fun to hear like where you were in the moment. And
I'll never forget it. It was like so random. Yeah. And the guy who we'd been like kind of crashing with he's a small business owner and has like invested in businesses. So it was like really cool because I came home and I was like, you know about this. Give me your opinion.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And from my perspective, to me, this was like a last ditch effort. Like I was like, I'm getting desperate here. Like I didn't really truly think it was going to work out with you guys. I was hopeful. Like I wanted it to, but I didn't know if you were like in a position to be doing that. And so as we progressed through the journey of you buying the rentals, like it was so easy and just like the whole process, like every time we, would meet or like when I met your parents, they came to the warehouse and everyone's excitement. It was so cool to just be a part of because the whole process was just easier than I thought it would have been. And again, I had been trying to sell it for a while and it like had been a struggle. And so then to find, this situation with you guys, like I just told everybody, I'm like, this is the best case scenario, like the best possible situation is happening. And I'm so thankful and grateful that you guys took it over, like for so many reasons, because one, you guys are amazing. Two, like you were able to keep the warehouse and like just keep everything there. Cause that was a big concern for me too, was like, oh, I'm going to have to move everything and like figure out, you know, all these logistics. And it was like for you guys to just come in, take over the warehouse. Like that was so cool. And I don't know, just it worked out so well. And I'm so happy that it did. And we're like coming up on a year, which is insane.
I do feel like I have to give the like obligatory influencer speech of it would have not been possible without the tremendous support of my family. And like, I think that is another reason that we have been able to be as successful as we have. In the last year, like with the support of our loved ones and our family and our homes, this would not be happening if we lived any different lives. Just gotta throw that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of father, brother, fiance labor. And especially just because like she doesn't have a payroll.
A payroll?
She's currently operating on a lot of labor and favors.
But no, it really did, like, it was so best case scenario for us because we got built-in clients, we got immediate shout outs, and then from there we were able to book planning clients because we had like some sort of presence and some like real humans backing us, and we weren't just like a faceless Instagram account saying, let us be a part of your wedding. So it really was so best case scenario.
And then
for everyone.
On top of that, though, it had to be very fast. We
would still be dragging our, like, I truly think if it hadn't been for the warehouse, like the rental sale,
we had already been
wouldn't
dragging our feet
LLCs.
For 6 months. So
we had been dragging our feet so severely. And I think we both suffer a little bit from a perfectionist. Like, if it's not going to be perfect, let's not do it at all.
Yeah.
Mentality.
So we have to fight through that every single day. Even today with the podcast lighting, I'm like, well, this is as good as it gets. Should we keep...
Sorry, the lighting's bad. We got to reschedule.
So then we also have to like work through that together.
But it really like kicked our butts into gear and forced us to like get a website, get an LLC. Like, I think I'm still learning that too. Like, we're in the middle of a big website redesign and like rebrand. And at the time building the website, I was like, well, it has to be perfect. Like now we have to like become web designers and figure out how to make this beautiful now. And like, if I could go back and tell us like, just make a website. It literally does not matter. Like you can figure out the rest later, but
don't add Squarespace web designer to my resume. But just know when you check us out, I did my best. And that's why we have a web designer now.
Yes. Yeah. And really quick side note, it's Carrie, right? That you're working with? Okay. Yeah. I literally just had her on the podcast too.
Carrie, we love you.
She's the best. Shout out, Carrie. I can't wait to see how it turns out. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited for you guys.
Good.
Okay. So you were kind of sharing some of the benefits of being like thrust into a business that already was like built, like had a foundation. Whereas a lot of people, when they start their business, like they're just building it from the ground up. Like they have nothing, they have no clients, they have no like reputation, they have really nothing. But you guys kind of, like you said, you stepped into something that was already had a foundation. So that said, like that came with a lot of benefits, but were there any challenges in those early days as well? Just kind of like all, like you were just like business owners overnight. You know what I mean? Like it's just all of a sudden you had this warehouse and you had this inventory and you had clients.
I'm like giggling hearing the question because like April through November was like a true fever dream.
Yeah. And that's a long time to feel like every day is your deadline. Because a
deadline that you set for yourself.
So one thing about our business that as far as working as a duo, we had some really long conversations about once Clarae had the offer for the rental company, we had drafted a lot of different business plans of like, do we separate things 50-50? Like, how are you going to handle the overhead and the bills? And if I'm working with you, am I your employee? And in the end, we decided that it made more sense and protecting our friendship if Clarae is the one that owns the rental company, because I think that it's almost too big to be checking in with someone else 50-50. And so the way our Birdie June events and rentals,
Bajur.
if you want to use their acronym, the way that we divide it while protecting our friendship is...
We never said our name. Also, we're Birdie June events and rentals, by the way.
Well, I will make sure in the intro to say your name. So everybody will know, because that will be, I'll add that later. So they will know.
The way that we divide everything is Clarae is the sole owner of the rentals, and I emotionally support her, but I am not her rentals employee. And I have the photo booth. And so it is mostly me and my husband running the photo booth side. And then we split all wedding planning 50-50. And we have a lot of different operations of how that labor feels 50-50. But I think that this is one of the reasons why we've been able to work so well together, is because we simultaneously have a joint interest in addition to, I think side hustle really diminishes what we're doing, but like almost
it's like a
triangle.
Yeah, if you want to call it like the branches of our government, the 3 branches of the
Rentals, weddings, photo booth.
Yeah, it helps us. I think that was the best decision we could have possibly made.
Because it was
in the
difficult
beginning
to figure out how to separate it. And I think that as far as our communication style, we do our best to be blunt and kind while always giving each other the benefit of the doubt. Because if you believe that we are not trying to cheat each other, we're not trying to swindle each other, like if we already have the foundation of we care about each other's well-being, financial well-being, and future success, it's a lot easier to make decisions together, even if it's scary to even talk about.
Because so many of them are financial too. And that's, no one wants to talk about money, especially with their friends. Like, people can't even like split a dinner bill. It's like, this is crazy. The fact that we like have managed to like deal with like pretty big sums of money.
Yeah.
In a friendship, and that not be our largest issue, I would say. That's not really an issue at all.
And because we met each other when we were 14 and 17, like, we are very aware of each other's financial histories, as far as like, she knows about every day that I was in credit card debt when I had just graduated college. And I have been aware of like,
what have you been aware of?
I've been aware. Because we were once young friends. And so I think that we are conscious enough to like not hold it against each other, where it's like, well, I remember when you were 21 and like you handled money this way. Like, I hope everybody forgets how I used to handle money at 21 and 22. But I think that we've been able to grow up together while also making decisions that protect ourselves and grow together.
Yeah. But to get back to the question.
Yeah, what was that?
No, that was great.
No, I agree with everything you said. But I mean, I feel like the way that I explained it through the entire season, I kept saying, people were like, how's it going? Like, you're doing this new thing. I kept saying, I've never been so stressed out, but I've never been so happy. And that, like, really, I stand by that. I've never felt so fulfilled and so aligned in what I'm doing and so happy and, like, proud of it. Because, sidebar, I used to be, like, very ashamed of whatever, like, entry-level job I was doing. I didn't finish college. I was doing a lot of, like, retail, food service, whatever. And I was so, like, mortified when someone would ask what I did. And I'd be like, I work at Old Navy. But now I'm like, I'm a wedding planner. I own a rental company. I work with my best friend. I'm like so happy to share it.
Oh,
But I mean, the challenges were literally everything else. Like truly just from figuring out, like on my end, how to pack a box of rentals. Like, and I made some weird choices in the beginning. I really did not know what I was doing. And I was like, am I stupid? Like, I don't know how to pack this up. I don't know what's expected. Is there that's kind of like the beauty and the downside of like this industry and being self-employed is that like there's not a rule book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's not a rule book, and also like there's not a rule book.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
beautiful and terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sums up all of the challenges we faced.
It's simultaneously hating ourselves as much as believing in ourselves, and then finding that like middle ground of just like, who do we think we are? Like, we can't try something new. We already have these predetermined identities. And then simultaneously saying the exact opposite to each other of like, you're brilliant, you're beautiful, you can do anything you set your mind to. And so it's just kind of like swinging back and forth from an inflated ego to also deep shame. And finding the middle ground.
But
that's like most business owners. That's most people in the world. So you're not alone.
Crazy because like the job is so communicating with others based.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been so many times when I'm like, is this communication appropriate? Should I be reaching out to this vendor now? Should I wait? Should I say that? Should I say this? What should I say? What shouldn't I say? And then I'm like, and same with like all of the timelines and kind of like back end paperwork where God bless our first bride, because we were truly starting from scratch with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And we did so much work to get ourselves to like a good place. But that was a humongous challenge of like, what kind of timeline map, like what kind of paperwork would I want if I was a bride, and then trying to figure it out from there. But like, that was a lot of hours and a lot of long nights.
Yes. And I think that as well, like when you're working with a couple and their parents and their families, like everyone like that we've worked with is often a professional in their own right in another category. And so our first bride is a very proficient realtor, and she has a lot of processes for how she'll close a deal on a house. And obviously a wedding and selling homes is not the same, but she's used to very efficient communication and a lot of work with contracts. And so in order to try to like establish ourselves as future professionals and like trying to meet an expectation, because in theory, most of the people we've worked with have never been married before. And so it's us trying something new and them being a bride for the first time. And so then trying to figure out like, what is the perfect balance and standard. And now I feel like after 2024, like we do have our version of what that standard is. Mm-hmm. And we appreciate the brides that gave us a chance to figure out those boundaries and standards. Someone had to go first.
So yeah, to answer your question, everything was hard. I think also something that I feel like every self-employed person loves to talk about is finding a balance for yourself. Because if you're used to clocking in at the local McDonald's every day and you clock in, you work, and then you clock out, and then you can have your you time, it is so much different when your you time and your work time all exist in the same four walls. Mm-hmm. And I think at least, well, I know for a fact we both have like issues with giving ourselves grace to enjoy doing nothing. And between the two of us, we got a lot of shame about relaxing. And so I feel like, especially between April and August, when I did not take a single day off between wedding planning and my day job, that was crazy. I like did not know how to give myself a break.
There was always something to do. And I think especially like because we were starting from scratch, like I said about the website, where it's like, oh, you have a day off? Maybe you should check out that website. Like maybe you should make some new business cards. Maybe you should be doing more outreach. There's always something else to do when you're brand new.
I'll never forget. I think it was in October, so it was like relatively recently. My dad came over to help us fix something, and I was enjoying some time on the couch. And he's like,
crazy,
not working today? And I was like, no, I have a meeting in an hour. And he was like, okay. And I was like, well, maybe that's why I'm like this. So I think that covers all of our challenges.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I I can imagine. It's different for me because, like I said, when I started, it was just planning and I was just starting out. And thankfully, like we all had those early couples who trusted us enough, like my few couples who just found me on Google and were like, yeah, this girl seems legit. And like, I didn't know what I was doing, but like, it's because of them that we are able to get to the next level and, continue on in our businesses. So we all have those couples to be grateful for. But yeah, I'm sure it has been a huge challenge, but you guys, like watching you and everything that you have accomplished, it's been so fun for me to get to watch you guys just crush it. And I feel like you're doing amazing. I'm sure it doesn't always feel that way. And I'm sure there have been many challenges, but from my perspective, you guys have been doing a fantastic job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I think there was like a point probably after our last wedding of the season where I was kind of like looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, well, that's it. No one's going to book with you again. No one's ever going to rent from you again. And no one's ever going to book you. That was a fun year. You had a good time. So I am very excited for the next year because people did book us.
Yes.
Of course. Yes.
Thank you to the 5 brides of 2025 so far. We love you. Thank you for keeping us in the game.
That's right. So would you say that your friendship has evolved or changed in any way, like since, this past year of working together? Do you feel like it's strengthened it? I mean, I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but is there anything else you would add to that?
I think that 2 big changes happened at the same time. I think that I became a mom in 2022, and that already had changed our friendship because everything used to be about her and I. Like, we could watch TV for 7 hours and not answer to anybody, and we could do our nails, and we could talk and talk and talk all night, and then wake up on little sleep and go to our jobs. But then once I was responsible for somebody else, we were still able to have so many pieces of our friendship preserved, but then it had already changed once before having the business. And so I think that being in 2 different transitions at the same time, we were able to find our footing and welcome change because change had already happened. And I had thought that I was going to have Romy and put her in daycare after like a year. And I thought I was going to go back to teaching. And then you're home with your little tiny baby, and it's suddenly hard to remember the life you had before her. And so I didn't go back to teaching. We do this now. And I think that with that change, like, I would say that the friendship has gotten stronger because we now are forced to be honest at all times.
That's what I was going to say. I think it has to get stronger because when you're making when you have to be that honest and able to reflect on yourself and also honestly reflect on your friend as a business partner and not just a friend. It is one thing to have conflict in friendships. It's a whole nother to have it in business friendship. And I realize how that can get messy. I've had it get messy. But yeah, I think it has just strengthened itself. And I think we've put ourselves to the test many times because we were figuring it all out from the ground up. And so there was a lot of hard conversations, for lack of a better word, that forced us to be just so honest with each other about what we needed from one another and what we could put forth ourselves. That, not that it was ever on the table, but I think a long time ago, the option was either we end this now or we just toughen up and become stronger and love each other more through it.
Yeah. Well, and as crazy as it sounds, it's almost similarly to where it's like when I'm married and I've been with my husband for a total of 12 years. But I think that was something that had happened. Like when our daughter was born, we were like, I've never been more in love with you. I love you as a father. I love you as a friend. And I love you even more as my husband. And we had said that parenthood was so difficult that we knew that it was either going to break our marriage or make it stronger than ever. And thankfully we're stronger than ever. But similarly with business, where it's this will either break you in ways that your friendship has never been challenged, or you will grow to new levels that you didn't know was on the horizon.
You could say that the business is our baby.
I'm a mother too.
Mother to a human child, a photo booth, and a wedding planning company.
And your dog baby.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course. I've got the dog.
Okay.
The dog that I named the company after.
The namesake.
The rundown on the name of the business.
Name of the business is Birdie June Events and Rentals, Bajur. If you're crazy, it's named after my mini Australian Shepherd who turns 4 in like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
She's my perfect angel. And I felt like that was like,
So sweet.
because I named her that when I got her. I was just looked at her. I was like, you're a little bird. And June just came out of my mouth one day. And then I felt like it was the most perfect bridal sounding combination. Because like, I don't know, lovebird, bird, swans are our logo. They mate for life, whatever. And then June is like wedding season, wedding month. And I was like, dang, I accidentally gave my dog like the perfect wedding industry name.
It's like you knew all along.
And it's hard to name a business. It's hard to know what will sell while still being authentic to yourself. And I know that...
Especially when you're 2 girls with made-up names.
Yeah, so being Taressa and Clarae, we already...
Teresa and Claire, it just...
Yeah, we already weren't sure how to incorporate our first or last names. So...
Oh, I love it. I love your guys' name. I think it's so cute. And I also just want to say, like, I think hearing your guys' story of your friendship getting stronger through business ownership, entrepreneurship, it's just so encouraging because I think most of us have heard like the opposite, like horror stories of people who like friends who went into business together and then like now they're suing each other over the rights of the name or, you know, just like crazy things like that. And so, and I think maybe hearing that people think, oh, I would never go into business with my friend or like, you know, or family too. You just hear a lot of crazy stories. And so I just think your guys' story is so inspiring. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on because I don't know a ton of businesses that are run by 2 best friends. And I just think it's really fun to hear how you guys are making it work and how it's, you know, even like bonded you more. I think that's so fantastic.
Well, I think it was kind of perfect too. And this may make me sound a little nutty, but right when things were getting like really serious between us, when we were really like getting the rental text from you and having to make big decisions, I had another much smaller business venture with a friend that was falling apart due to interpersonal falling outs. And I think we all like to think we won't repeat our mistakes, but I think I have a very like unique look into like what not to do when going into business with a friend. And I would like to say so far, we have not made any of the same mistakes that I made last time. And I also have my dad owns a business 50-50 with his business partner. And so I had some like good insight from him on that. And we also had your mom's great insight. I think it was her idea initially to split, do joint planning and then split the other pillars.
Yeah.
So like,
Also,
we really had the village behind us to, and yeah, your dad too.
My dad owns a boat shop with his brother. And so I guess that's something we had in common.
So I was curious if you guys have recognized strengths in one another that you think kind of complement each other. Obviously, you were each kind of in charge of a different area, rentals, photo booth, and then you joint planning. But yeah, I'm just curious, like what kind of strengths do you see in each other?
It's the reason the whole thing works.
You have to have a little bit of fear that you can't do it on your own because there are things that Clarae does that I am not strong at and vice versa. And so there is that element of like 2 puzzle pieces coming together where it's like, there's no way I steal the business and run away on my own because I rely on her for too many things and vice versa, hopefully.
You will not catch me making spreadsheets. It's just, I'm not the one.
And I like to color code them and have a whole evening of it.
So yeah, I also won't be taking off with the business. I mean, from a like true task delegation standpoint, Taressa is the back end paperwork organization. The only reason we know how to pay each other for services done for one another.
I'm in charge of the money.
No, it's like the bookkeeping. Yeah, there's no way that I would be in charge of the money. Like that just makes sense for this. And then I do more of like the design, whatever. But beyond that, like the more conceptual and like mood boarding, grand vision.
Yeah.
But aside from that, also, Taressa does the research.
Yeah.
Literally,
I'm a little freak with
what
the
would I do
browser.
without you? I would be like taking architecture classes because you could not pay me to figure out software for making floor plans. That's what I got you for.
And I think that that's the other thing too, is that like I definitely struggle with having a blank venue and figuring out how to fill it. And it gets really hard for me to almost choose things one at a time. But I think that Clarae has such a beautiful conceptual mind of this is our empty vessel and these are all the things that I think we can fill it with on this budget. And I think that for me, I do a good job of if this is our venue, then this should be the vendors for that venue. And if you have given me one grand total number, I feel like I can research and communicate in order to make sure that every moving part fits in with that number. And I've done some pretty impressive things with budgets to make even smaller budget weddings feel bigger due to that communication and research and swinging a deal.
But your organization on that end too also forces me to put sometimes just conceptual ideas of, I mean, I can walk into a space and say like, oh, if we could do a floral installation here and we could set this up like this and blah, blah, blah. And the organization forces me to have to put it on paper and have to I have to like get it out of my head, which is amazing. But also like the nice thing about being a duo too is just like taking turns wearing different hats. Like if I want to like lock in and clean up and there's someone who's really chatty, you can take over the chatting. Well, I put candles away.
I will say, on a wedding day, it's almost like we switch personalities because on the back end, I'm very much like, reply to this email, like talk to this person, talk to that person. Like I have 4 to 40 different tabs open at the same time. And I feel very serious before the wedding. And then the wedding happens and Clarae is like, don't talk to me while I'm working. I actually have the strongest arms on this property and I am lifting, setting up, and you will never see me sit down. And then I'm like, I feel like I'm ready to relax because I already know all the work I did on the back end. So I'll talk to all the vendors and say hi. And Clarae's like a labor.
And I'm like,
fiend.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you want to stay here till 1 a.m? Like, let's pack some candles right now. And I'm like, crazy person behavior. But like,
but you want both of us. You want both sides.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, I love hearing about how you guys complement each other. And it sounds like you really do. Like you're like the yin to each other's yang. Like you just are this awesome little duo right now. Oh yeah, look at that. That's amazing.
It's a visual metaphor.
Yeah.
Got to go to YouTube to watch it.
Yep, that's right.
Or
It
Instagram.
will be on YouTube. Okay, gosh, you guys, like there's so many more questions here that I really wanted to ask you.
We'll try to be concise. We'll be concise.
Okay, we'll do like rapid fire. Okay. Okay, here's one. Have there been any hilarious or memorable moments where you guys were just like, we can't believe this is our job?
You want to share our stupid story? The best thing we could come up with? We read, full transparency to the listeners, we read these questions a week ago. And we looked at each other for this and we're like, I mean, truly every day of last year when I was like the first time I got the keys to the warehouse, like, then I was like, I feel like I'm trespassing. But there was one time in, what was that, June? We were on a couple of venue tours with our amazing, I guess, second full planning clients. Truly, forever shout out to Grace and Jasper. And we had just finished one tour and we had like 30 minutes to kill before the second one.
Oh, no, I know.
And we were just a little slap happy and kind of like, this is wild. I love that this is our job. And we went through a McDonald's drive-thru to get Diet Coke. And if you're a Diet Coke connoisseur, you know, sometimes they're bad. And these were really gross. They were like
flat.
They were flat. They were tasteless. They were nasty. And so we were sitting in the parking lot of this like strip mall, giggling, drinking these like bad Diet Cokes. And we like looked across the parking lot and there was a Supercuts. And I asked Taressa, what do you think Grace and Jasper would say if we showed up at the next tour with shaved heads? Do you think they would fire us? And we laughed so hard we were crying. And then it became just like a new joke of like, what's something crazy we could do during cocktail hour at a wedding? What if we got a huge tattoo? Like, just silly, stupid, but it was really wonderful. And I'll always think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And like,
that's awesome.
Right in. If your wedding planners shaved their heads in between two venue tours,
Would it make you scared and nervous?
or would it make you scared in a good way?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I can just picture you guys. I can just picture you sitting there with your Diet Cokes, cracking
And
up.
they were so bad. They were really gross.
I thought about driving to another location because I wanted
Oh
it
yeah,
so bad.
I would. That's what I probably would have done. I don't drink soda anymore, but I used to be a big soda drinker. Not Diet Coke, but like Coke Zero was my drink of choice. But yeah, that's the worst. Oh, I'm sorry. But now look at you now.
And we didn't shave our heads. We have
And you didn't shave your heads. Thank
lustrous
goodness.
full heads of hair. Lustrous is the
Okay, rapid fire, remember?
Okay.
If you could go back and give yourselves advice on day one, like the day that I gave you the keys, like I handed over the keys to Clarae, what advice would you give yourself to like that version of Clarae?
This is the worst
Taressa.
question to rapid fire. It's all going to work out. Trust your gut.
Mm-hmm.
You can take things slow. You can ask for help.
Yeah.
Chill out. Take a deep breath. But also enjoy it. Revel in the moment. Girl.
I think that I would tell myself, I know that contracts are scary. I know that paperwork is scary. You are capable of hard things. Just do the paperwork. Don't let it sit around and threaten you for a week.
Yes. Yes to all of it. I love it. Okay, amazing. Let's see. What has been the most rewarding part of owning the business so far?
I think that for me, I always thought of myself as someone who preferred to work under someone else. I think that when I was teaching, I never wanted to be principal. When I was acting, I never wanted to be the director. And it's funny how I feel like almost scared of the freedom I now have over my own life. Just by being my own boss, like kind of like what Clarae said, like you set your own hours, you choose when you relax. And I think that because I have tendencies of working in the middle of the night, like a lot of the jobs I had were so daytime hour based, like it feels good to have my business hours be 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. and like nobody is on my back about it, except maybe my husband, who is wondering if I will ever go to bed.
I know that everyone in the industry says this, but like being a part of someone's incredibly special day, perhaps the specialist day of their lives, that is such an honor. And it's been so cool to witness different people's love story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like so excited to go to more weddings.
Yeah, no, I would say the same thing. I think that I have always been obsessed with weddings since I was a child. And I do find myself being the child that like dreamed of their partner one day and like what that wedding would look like since I was very small. And if we do not take the responsibility lightly that this is potentially the best day of your life. And I've cried at every single wedding we've planned. And I've cried at every single wedding I interned at with you. And I don't know these people. Those are people I knew for a day.
Oh.
But when two people love each other, you feel it, and it's hard to not respond accordingly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. Do we have time for 2 more quick questions? Do
We
you
have
guys
all the
think?
time
Are
in the
you
world.
okay? Okay. All right. How do you balance work and life, especially, as you're both co-owning the business? And then Taressa, you are a mom too. So, you are juggling a lot. Like, do you guys have any advice? And how do you guys balance it all?
I don't know if we balance it very well, but we're here.
Like I said, I worked from April 1st to August 9th without taking a single day off. And that was, I would not recommend anyone do that. But something that has like at least gotten me through the like thick of the like intense hustle is trying to like romanticize it a little bit, which is not like, I don't necessarily think that's good advice. But like, for example, when I assisted at that Crook Point wedding and I had to leave at like 3 a.m, I was like, we don't need to get into that, but like the idea of like, I just work super hard. I have to like wake up weirdly early and drive back and then work a day job. Like I try to not let that get me down and ruin my life and romanticize the fact that at least for me, I'm like, I'm young, I'm childless. This is this phase of life for me. And this will not be like this forever because I'm like hustling so hard. But I think going into year 2, I'm trying to, year 1 was kind of the experiment phase. So now I know what I need to do to maintain my life and I don't need to overdo it. And so, I mean, I've like taken steps back at my day job severely so that I can like take care of myself and like actually take days off, because taking days off from your day job to do the side hustle or vice versa is the worst way to treat yourself, and you will burn out and you will crash your car and it'll be awful. But like,
Rest in peace to the Volvo.
yeah, that's the best.
True story. True story.
No, literally. It's my favorite story to tell. The fact that my car was worth $600.
Listeners are going to be very confused, but
If you DM me, I'll give you the deets.
And I would say that for me as well, like when you are trying to avoid paying for daycare in order to really crack down on your family finances, I think that the hard part of that April to November really was like, okay, I'm with the baby during the day. Now she's a toddler. I'm with Romy during the day. My husband's with Romy in the evening. And then I'm gone all weekend and he's all gone all week because he has his own job to do. And so we really were just like 2 ships in the night. And while we both felt extraordinarily connected to our daughter, we had to remind each other, like, the new business isn't going to be new forever. We are simultaneously like getting better and better while also getting busier and busier. And winter is the slow season for many wedding vendors. And so it's been nice to be able to kind of like slow down a little, reconnect as a family, and then mentally prepare for the next season as well. But I think that after that first year, we now have better coping strategies, better house routines. And that's the nice thing about being together for over a decade before starting a business, is that we've already laid the foundation that this marriage is forever, and we will be kind and we will support each other even when the routine is significantly different from what it was before.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. I Clarae, when you talk about that season where you were working every day, and I remember like hearing you in the moment talk about just like every day. And I was like a little bit worried about you. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? She's young. Like, she doesn't have kids. Like, you are just you're not to say that it wasn't, I'm sure it was like extremely hard and grueling and crazy. And I'm so glad that you're not, in that position currently. And I hope that you are not in that position like this, wedding season. But it sounds like you've learned so much through that. And like, okay, that was a season and now we're heading into a new season. And I do not need to like kill myself to make this work, because that's not good, of course.
We have said this off the pod, but we've always admired the way that you manage your time, because we do believe you to be a present mother, an educator, and you have your own business that has been running and successful for so long now. And I think that it's nice to be able to have a mentor and role model where you are able to be present for so much in your life. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. And so being able to have someone that you look up to of she is able to manage this many things and make it look so good.
It would be a lot less cute and quirky if you were the one saying that you worked for like 4 months straight without taking a day off. I think I'd be scared.
I think we would have been scared.
I think that there is like a light at the end of the tunnel created by you and other industry professionals that gives us hope that that nonsense will not always be the case.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you, Taressa, for saying that. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I am not going to sit here and say that, yeah, I have it all figured out. I perfectly balance everything. Like, obviously that's not true. And obviously I still struggle in that area, but I have done things in my life that make it so that I, you know, am able to, like you said, be present with my kids, to homeschool them, to be able to, you know, just, I really feel like I didn't miss any like milestones or moments in my kids' life. Like, I watched them grow up and now they're about to be 9 and 12, which is insane. Like, I'm going to have a teenager soon, which is just bonkers. So, but I do feel like because I've started my business at the same time that I started having babies, like I was able to be home with them and watch them grow up. And now I'm in a totally different season of life, which is wild. But still being able to be very, you know, involved in my kids' lives and everything. So again, don't have it all figured out, but I think I have learned a ton. And I definitely had a lot of struggles early on, especially like with babies. It's just, it's different, you know, it's really hard trying to balance it all. It's hard to balance it all, even if you don't have kids. I mean, let's be real. Like, Clarae, you have another job you're trying to balance. Like, there's always things to balance and to try to figure out. So I think you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you. We learned from the best.
Yeah. Okay. One final question. What's next? You guys have added the photo booth. You're planning these amazing weddings. You have the fabulous rentals. Are you adding to the inventory? Are you like adding other services? Like, what is up? What are you excited about for 2025?
Yeah, the photo booth was the new thing last year because I worked with a fantastic woodworker, Oregon Handcraft, and he built my photo booth out of black walnut, customized to my exact technology. And
but you built the technology inside with essentially no information other than crazy little Reddit threads and a couple YouTube videos. I have never been so
It was
impressed.
a lot of YouTube videos.
Like, I truly can't stress how impressed I am with the work that you did to put the photo booth together.
Well,
like,
and I think
crazy.
that was part of the stress, is that we definitely wanted the rental company to be on its own 2 feet before I was diving deeper into the photo booth side, because I could tell that Clarae needed that extra help to make sure that things were running smoothly before I started working on my own business, which is something I would do for a friend, was like, which is part of that friends and business partners side. But I think that there are photo booth companies that you can buy the like aluminum shell and it comes with the technology, and there is a guide of how to put the camera to the printer to the lights. And I think that once I decided that I wanted to have something more specific, everything got really, really hard, because when you're trying to use not the specific camera they told you to use, or build things in a way like making sure that the machines can still breathe even if you trap them in black walnut, or like using a different iPad interface or different software, there was a lot of trial and error and not a lot of YouTube and people to help me through that process. And it was also expensive to buy everything up front and then hope everything was working together. And so I'm very thankful that the photo booth has been as well received as it is. We're using a Canon R7 with a pretty sophisticated lens, And so I feel like the quality of the photos really goes beyond the printed photo and turns into a digital photo you could use as a holiday card or blow up bigger than 4x6 in frame if we really just took a real winner.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of like part of the new is that it doesn't sound as
Here's
exciting.
one
Like,
now.
Look at that quality.
So good. So good.
but I think that that's kind of part of the new. I would like more backdrops in my inventory. I would like better versions of technology that I've already been working with. I know that Clarae has new furniture already and there's plans for new stuff.
Let's see, what do I have? The big news is that if you're an OG and know that I am the owner of 20 church pews that have been ruining my life and taking up so much square footage in the warehouse, making my garage at home now the second warehouse. Really humbling. The pews are leaving within the next couple of weeks. So they have an eviction date of April 1st.
Yay.
That's really exciting. So with the new space, I actually just made a bunch of purchases for some more modern furniture.
Yay.
More kind of like guest book table. I have a couple like marble top tables. Nice and heavy for some like champagne towers or cake cutting. I know everyone's like really into those round cakes that they're like making interactive, like, pouring berries on them and stuff. As a bride who's literally doing that. What else am I doing? I might be getting into chargers. We'll see what happens there. Oh, and we're building a bar.
The bar, yes.
A bar face. Beautiful, modern. Yeah, I'm just I want to expand into more of a like modern with a touch of whimsical and a little less boho is kind of what I want to do.
And also some color. Like, I know that.
Add some color. Oh, I had something else and it left my mind. Oh, what's next is I'm getting married and then everything else comes after that. And
yay.
6 weeks. Oh
my gosh, it's so soon.
And I have the honor of being matron of honor.
Yay.
It's a real trip being a planning your own wedding.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If I'm going to say, okay, we need to get better about our Instagram content. That was a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
And I think we want to start a little Reels series about, like, from the perspective of being a wedding planner, planning a wedding.
Yes.
Totally
absolutely.
So I'm going to really tentatively say, look forward to some Instagram content.
Yes.
Instagram content, more from the photo booth, more rentals.
Our web design.
Web design.
So many exciting things.
We're going to be new women come April 1st.
Yes. Amazing. I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to see all the things. And I have no doubt that you guys are just going to continue to crush it. Where can my listeners find you and go follow you and see these amazing Instagram reels about being a planner and a bride? Everyone's going to want to see that.
They can follow us on Instagram at Birdie June Events. You can also find us at birdiejunevents.com.
When did you say the new site is it April that it's going to launch?
Yeah,
that's the plan.
It is. Okay. Oh my gosh. April is such a huge month for you guys. Wow.
We're hoping that we get our website redone by the beginning of April. Everybody sees Clarae's wedding on Instagram, believes that we are wedding geniuses, and then the website's ready for them to come look at.
Yes. So, amazing.
If you're a listener wondering what's going to happen in April, stay tuned.
It'll be a fun month too, because it's the 1-year anniversary of Birdie June. And then we will be actual wedding anniversary twins.
My anniversary is April 13th. And so our wedding anniversaries will be a day apart now.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so fun. I love it.
And I think that the funny thing is that now that I'm reflecting on the things we've said so far, we didn't say that we grew up in Springfield, that we're local to the area, and that the reason we know each other is because we grew up here and went to school together. And this is, sorry for the extra piece on a question that was like 5 questions ago. I think that as far as like, what was it like to get the rental company and start from there? We're already simultaneously like local
Celebrities.
I was going to say personalities. We're already
micro influencers.
We're already in the community we grew up in. And so thank you so much to people. Like, if you thought I was cool in high school, I don't know what you were thinking. But if you think I'm cool now, I would love to work with you.
Ditto. If you thought I was mean and evil in high school and you think I seem like a really sweet angel now, we'd love to work with you.
Oh my gosh. I cannot imagine that version of Clarae, but
Angel?
no, the mean high school version.
She was overstimulated. Full time.
Confirmed I'm nice now.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I am aware that you are nice. You are a sweet angel. So I'd never known you as anything different. So I'm just shocked that there was ever another side to you.
A win is a win.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you guys, okay. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Teressa, was that your final thoughts? Final thoughts.
Like,
that's not what this is for. This is to get to know you guys. I talk all the time.
We do have one question for you.
You do?
I'm off the fly now. One question for you. Now that you are no longer owning and operating the rentals company and have taken a step into more mentorship, education, and now podcasting, how do you feel like your time is spent differently? And do you enjoy these new ventures more than the 4 years you owned the rental company?
Ooh, this is a great question. Look at you. I would say that my time is spent differently. I think probably I'm still spending like I don't think I'm working any less, honestly, than when I had the rentals. Because, I mean, I traded my rental inventory and having to physically go to the warehouse and pack orders with now, I feel like I am like in my home office more than I was before. But for me, that's great because I'm in my home office. And when we're done with this interview, I'm going to go downstairs and go hang out with my kids. It's not like the driving back and forth to the warehouse. So that part I do appreciate. And I like, I guess, just being not necessarily working less, but it's a different type of work. And it's a work that I can do within the four walls of my house. So I do love that. And I love podcasting. Like I thought that I would like it. Like I had, a feeling like that I would enjoy it, but the way that I have just really I don't know. I love it. I had 6 podcast interviews this week, which feels insane. That is not normal. That was, I send out my scheduling link and somehow they just all ended up being this week. But it's just so fun for me. And I, being an extrovert and being somebody who loves networking and meeting people and talking to people, it really fills my cup, so I'm picturing before I would have been by myself at the warehouse packing an order and maybe I had music on and whatever, but it was just me. I don't know. So I love this because I'm getting to talk to you guys and other amazing people in the industry and getting to mentor, other wedding planners who have these big dreams. And so, yeah, it's been really amazing for me. I feel again, it was just the best case scenario because I can see how much you guys are, as far as I can tell, loving it and just doing an amazing job with it.
Confirmed.
And it's and we didn't talk about this at all. And if people know my story, then they know this. But when I took on the rental inventory, it was from a wedding planner who I had interned with. So the way that we created this crazy full circle story with me being an intern many years ago, and then that planner kind of being in my life as, kind of a mentor over the years. And then her coming to me, similarly how I came to you, Clarae, and being like, hey, I have this rental inventory. Do you want to buy it? And my initial thought was what? That is crazy. No way. And then I remember bringing it to Andrew and talking about it with him and him being that could actually maybe we could make that work. And then, having that inventory for 4 years. And then, full circle, selling it to my past interns. So anyways, it's a crazy full circle story. And I'm just super grateful that it's in good hands. I mean, that's really what it is. Like I
do my best.
And Clarae drives the truck herself.
I know.
Listeners
and you know me.
Who don't know, Clarae is capable and good at driving a very long box truck.
I sure am.
Amazing. And you know me, I was like, I'm never driving the box truck. Like I literally never drove a box truck in 4 years. So, okay. Well, hopefully that answered your question.
To plug your podcast to other new vendors and other people in the industry, when I had tried to get wedding and planning education on my own or through other established podcasts, the Eugene, Oregon wedding scene is an ecosystem of its own. And I do believe that even among other podcasts, your podcast is still very relevant and necessary for our community, because there would be times, especially last year, when I was trying to figure out what would be the most efficient software to use, what would be the ways to network within our own community, because sometimes if your podcaster is wedding planning in New York, LA, other major cities, like it's just not the way.
It's just different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
And so I think that
even up to Portland, it's different there.
Yeah. And so I think that educating myself as a new business through the work that you had already podcasted last year, like I think that your impact has been felt beyond us and in your community, our community.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a part of it too.
You are. You're a very big part of it. Yes. Well, thank you, Clarae. That means no. Thank you, Taressa. That means a lot.
Yeah, I said that. I wrote it actually.
I was looking at Clarae. Well, no, thanking Taressa. Oh, gosh. Okay, well, thank you guys. This was amazing. I am so excited to get this out there. And yeah, like I said, this will probably be a two-parter because I could talk to you guys forever. We could talk.
I know.
Oh my
I
gosh.
think that this is a good part to call it. I think we've said all that should be said.
Thanks for having us. It's just so much fun.
Of course. I'm glad we finally made it happen. I know we had been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad that we made it happen.
Since May.
Last year.
Yes. But now I think it's better that we waited, because now you guys have had all this experience under your belt. And I feel like it would have been a totally different podcast episode if we would have done it back in the spring. You know what I mean? It would be so different.
An annual thing, a check-in once every
Where are they
like
now?
that. Let's do it. Yeah, where are they now? I love it. We should.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for helping us become the business owners we are.
Yeah.
We definitely credit you as our mentor, and I think especially like for a community engaging Eugene, like if you are a wedding vendor, Becky hosts a fantastic event, and it's nice to be able to meet with everybody once a month.
Yeah.
Like people that started as strangers who are now both business associates and friends.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you for throwing that out there. Yeah. Everybody, if you're local, you better be coming to Engaging Eugene. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now get out there and crush it.